Galactus, I just read your origin, and the one thing it doesn't really address is why you're wearing a kilt. Hello everyone, I'm Captain Logan, and welcome to the awesome and majestic force that is the Comic Book Vault. Today we're going to take a look at Galactus, the origin of one of my very, very favorite characters in Marvel. Yay, Galactus time! So the origin of Galactus, Galactus the Origin, was put out in 1983 as a Supervillain Classics #1, Galactus the Origin. And this is a reprint of some stories that were in Thor. This basically puts together a number of flashbacks that set up the origin of Galactus and told us his origin in Thor number 162, 168, and 169. And they were a lot of that was told by Odin, I think. I haven't read those issues, I just read about it. And it was all drawn by Jack Kirby, and Stan Lee, of course, wrote those, and so Stan Lee and Jack Kirby are working together here. Jack Kirby didn't add, of course, anything to this. Of course, they weren't working together at that point. But what they did was they took all of the work that he had done in those issues, they put it together, they added some things to it, and there were a few other artists that contributed to this to put this all together as one complete story to give us Galactus' origin. And the additional artists are John Byrne, Ron Wilson, Jack Abel, and Mark Gruenwald. And this is really neat to get to read this all together, and this is my first time taking a look at this. Real quick, I'll go ahead and give you Galactus' origin in case you don't get a chance to read this, and as usual, I'm going to give spoilers on this, so if you want to try to track this down yourself. I don't think this shows up in any trades. If it does, I don't know about them. But this is, I think, pretty easily findable if you want to go on eBay or something. Probably just $3 or $4 if you want to go look for it. But anyway, so I'll go ahead and tell you what happens in the issue. It's Galactus' origin, and what happens is there's this planet called Ta, which is TAA, which is supposed to be like the most sophisticated and futuristic kind of planet there is. Everybody gets around in thought bubbles. It's really interesting, and of course, an extremely imaginative tale being told by Stan Lee. And what happens is the planet Ta cannot, in all of its infinite wisdom, outrun universal decay. You know, we're always so worried about global warming, but what we should really be focusing on is universal decay. That's what takes care of Ta, and what happens is the universe is collapsing in on itself. And in order to try to preserve something of their race, they send out one man named Galen. They had to come up with something, I suppose Stanley had to come up with something that sounded kind of close to Galactus, so he's got this character named Galen, who's one of the best of them, and they put him on a spaceship, and they send him to the center of the universe. Now, I don't know how they know this is going to work, but apparently the universe has its own consciousness. And so what happens is, just as the universe is being destroyed, he manages to outrun the destruction of the universe until it gets to the center of it, and then as the universe is blowing up, is decaying, he manages to merge himself with the consciousness of the universe to create Galactus. Now, one thing I sort of wondered about was why exactly Galactus is formed the way that he is, because the consciousness of the universe seems to know what kind of being this is going to be. They come together, and he says that it's going to be a being that is going to require all of this energy from planets to survive, that he can do no less than destroy planets in order to survive. And what I kind of wondered, and what's not real explained, is whether that was done on purpose, or if the kind of being he wanted to create, simply that was how it had to survive. And there was a little bit of potential malice. I'm not sure. I sort of wondered if maybe the universe itself was wanting to get revenge on decaying. I wasn't entirely clear on it. But anyway, so Galactus is born, and Galactus is inside of this ship for eons, kind of kind of growing and manifesting itself, and being hungry all the while, and finally emerges to destroy his first planet. And again, that's chronicled in one of those Thor issues. We get to see the first planet that Galactus destroys. And before Galactus comes to his full fruition and goes and destroys that planet, we get to see the Watcher consider trying to stop him. The Watcher comes upon the ship and looks around for a minute and realizes that he's there just before Galactus is about to come out and go destroy his first planet, and is able to tell just by what he's looking at what kind of energy Galactus would require in order to survive. And he says, well, I only have so much time to do something if I'm going to break my sacred vow of only watching and not interfering, as the Watchers famously do. And ultimately, he decides not to interfere. And if he had, there would have been no Galactus. And I thought that was a really cool touch that Stan Lee put in there. And so Galactus destroys his first planet, and then he feeds off of it. And then after that, decides that he's going to create Ta 2, a new version of Ta, kind of in memory of his old planet. And when you get to the very end, and basically the way this is framed is Galactus goes back to Ta and says, every so often he always winds up back here. No matter what planets he's eating, he always comes back to this, and because he created it and it's kind of his great creation. You get to the very end, and Stan Lee always has to make his villains sympathetic in some way, and Galactus in some ways is the most sympathetic because he only does what he has to survive, which he says precisely in those words at the end, and says that he was here to witness the beginning of time. Remember that he was born out of the beginning of this universe, which I think is kind of a cool idea. And then he says, I will be here to witness the end of the universe. And by the time the end of the universe comes, he plans to have created something more greater and more wondrous than everything he's destroyed. That his accomplishments will far outweigh his destruction. And unfortunately, I'm not sure that we've seen a lot more of that since this. Every time Galactus shows up, now it seems like he's just come to destroy planets, and I haven't seen a whole lot more creation from Galactus. It's said here that he has the ability to create as much as he has the ability to destroy, and I think that's really fascinating. In case you don't know, Jack Kirby and Stan Lee had no intention of bringing this character back when they first created him in Fantastic Four, and a lot of that was in order to, well, all of it really was in order to keep this idea of his being such a massive and destructive force. He's a lot scarier and a lot more believable if we don't see him all the time. And of course, he got really popular, and since then he's been in a whole lot of stories, and you do have to sometimes wonder how he's shown up on Earth so many times and has never actually managed to destroy it. But that's neither here nor there. I love Galactus, and I kind of will take a little bit of a leap in logic in order to get to see him maybe more often than we ought to, just because I've always thought he's such a cool idea. He has such a cool voice, and I really enjoy seeing him, and I love his design. I always have. What a fantastic what a fantastic look at Jack Kirby's artwork here. There are these panels of this city that, like all of his cosmic stuff, I mean, he was the perfect guy for cosmic, and like all of his cosmic stuff, you've got these panels in here that are so intricate and so involved that you just want to stare at them and for a long time. I mean, you could look at this thing at a lot of these panels for 15-20 minutes and keep pulling really interesting things out of them. And this is totally worth looking at, if nothing else, for Jack Kirby's artwork. There is a website I found where you can look at a lot of this art, and I will put that in the description below so that you get a chance to look at it yourself. But Galactus the Origin, really great origin, really fun stuff, totally fun, out there, cosmic sci-fi fantasy, really science fantasy stuff, and it's Galactus, and I love it. Thanks a lot for watching the Comic Book Vault. If you ever have anything you want to see me review on the Vault, me or Vince, just send that to our P.O. Box. That's Geekvolution, P.O. Box 14183, Lenexa, Kansas 66285. As always, I appreciate you watching. Thanks again. I'm Captain Logan, and happy reading.